Welcome to Dungeons and Dragons, 5th edition, where we end up executing people innocently and call it neutral good. I mean, chaotic good, obviously, chaotic good. Let's get this going. This is Descent into Avernus, 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. A theme where basically a bunch of adventurers are forced to go to hell because they suck. And so, us adventurers are going to suck as bad as we can. Let's introduce people, shall we? We will start at the very end there with character Malvola.
Hello, I'm Nightcaste. I'm playing Malvola, a Dragonborn Hexblade Warlock. Hopefully get to keep playing that character.
Yes, and the reason that this is being mentioned is because not long since one of our characters died.
Also, you've got two people in the wrong spot. Sorry.
I've got two people. Oh, shoot. Did I not? Oh, crap. All right. I will fix that momentarily. While I'm fixing that, Coyra, why don't you continue on while I try and fix my boo-boo?
I'm Shy, I'm playing Coyra, an half-elf druid, and I somehow survived.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Speaking of survivors, Flynn, if I could get you to actually not snap in place, that would be great. There we go. Flynn. I still haven't updated your name yet. It is still Grimm. I need to change that. That's going to be on my list of things to do.
A number of people know by now I'm Nobby, and tonight I'm playing, or today, whichever, I'm playing Grimm, not Flynn.
Mm-hmm.
A seemingly human, well, party doesn't know what he is yet.
Very true. Very true. Let's see if I can actually get this. And what kind of character is it? You said? Human, but...
As I said, human looking, but party doesn't know yet.
Dang. Okay, I was trying to sneak it out of you. All right, so moving on from Grimm, Flynn, is Thorn.
Hi, I'm Ghostwoods, and Thorn is an elven Gleamstalker ranger, and he really sucks.
Well, that is perfect, and all my windows just closed on me. I don't know why, I'm sorry. So bear with me for a moment while I get everything back up. There we go.
You broke it?
Oh,
okay.
I'm just trying to get things working, folks. So anyway, I'm Vallen. I will be playing Palkas, a half-orc wild magic sorcerer, whose sole purpose is to make things explode, specifically his teammates. And then, all the way over there, we've got Kashcah.
Hi, I'm Kashcah, DM for this adventure.
So soft-spoken for a murderer.
Sorry.
No.
Also, I have a pug on my lap.
She does have a pug on her lap.
I'll try and move it. There we go.
So let me actually bring up the quest log, and we can go over what happened last time. Episode 7, Flynn's Fate. We moved through the remaining underground of the secret cultist building to find Mortlock Van Thamper fighting off a group of cultists. We defeated them with some difficulty and let him go, as he was no longer interested in supporting the Van Thampers in their attempt at overthrowing the city with cultist chaos. So his mother, he was no longer interested in the attempt to overthrow the city, but he was letting us know that his mother, Thalamra, I think it is, Thalamra, could become the next Grand Duke since they found him, Mortlock, a liability. The current Duke, Elder Ravengard, was convinced by Thalamra, Van Thamper, oh gosh, I'm gonna...
Just say Duke Van Thamper.
Duke Van Thamper. To go to El Terrell to meet with the Overseer, where... with the Overseer there, when that city was dragged into the Hells. Yay! So, city's gone, he's gone. Mortlock also said his older brother, Thirstwell, doesn't leave the house much, and Amrick, his other brother, was the Van Thamper mother's favorite. Plus, Amrick was in the Low Lantern Tavern and was paying the cultists, which were currently wreaking havoc on the city. Both are assumed to have conspired against Mortlock by Mortlock, meaning he said this. And then we also found a bunch of loot in it in the main treasure chamber. We grabbed all that stuff. And then, but as we were doing that, after we left, on the way out, just at the exit, there was a group of dragon cult worshippers outside with a captive. We overtook them and were introduced to the captive named Grimm, who was able to set himself free and exact some measure of revenge on his captors. We set Vendetta Cress, who was a prisoner that we found in there, free, and set her on her way. And then we interned Flynn's body at the Temple of Kelemvor, entrusting for fuck's sake with his remains. Meaning Ofer is his first name, fuck's sake is his last. You can read it right here, folks. We then went back to the Elf
Never
Song
gonna
Tavern
live that one down.
to rent a room and take account of our loot before meeting up with Grimm to find out more about this new person we just recently were introduced to. And then I took account of all the different chests here and the different loot that we had.
All the loots.
Yes. So, Kashcah, you want to continue on there?
Okay, sure. So you had headed back to the Elf Song Tavern to get some rest, and arrived at the tavern. And I'm just gonna kind of like breeze over some of the kind of normal, formality kind of stuff. So stop me if you guys want to do anything particular. Certainly doesn't mean that you can't do stuff in between, but I just, don't want to spend time saying, I get eggs for breakfast, or I, put my hat on.
Like turning the baby.
Thank you. Turn the baby. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of like scoot over some of this stuff. If you want to, but don't let me stop you though. If you want to kind of get into the details, I'm happy to do that as well. But you arrive back at the Elfsong Tavern. The one thing that you notice, kind of, it's a little bit strange, perhaps, is that you still have some a couple of rooms there, but the one particular room still has dinner and have their meals delivered to their door instead of kind of coming back down. Or coming down to like the main tavern area or coming out to the main dining area. They still have their meals delivered to their door. So that's a little bit odd. People do look at you kind of a little bit wide-eyed as you are hauling several chests worth of goods around with you.
Large bulky sacks. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yep.
They're just shaped like dead bodies. There's no loot in them.
Yep. So you kind of draw a little attention for that.
His coins against wood never make a sound.
Right.
Nope.
They draw a little attention for your haul, but aside from that, it is kind of quite late when you arrive, like getting into the early hours of the morning kind of thing. So not too many patrons in the kind of main area or common area of the tavern. So you did draw a little attention for that. You see breakfast delivered to the mystery door the following morning. But aside from that, nothing special, nothing
How is
particular
it food
catches your...
delivered? Is it like placed down in front of the door and they knock, or?
Yep, exactly.
I'm gonna try to sneak a bean in there.
Okay.
Maybe we find out what they do.
So you do see... Oh boy, hang on. I have to go back to the Elfsong Tavern and go look. So when the door opens for the food to be kind of retrieved, you see a person, a humanoid in fine clothing, pick up the tray and kind of shoots you, perhaps catches your eye, shoots you a bit of a look, like kind of cold, and kind of like not particularly like friendly, you know. But this person is dressed in like fine ladies' clothing, but aside from that, they look like they belong in the ocean. Like they have kind of almost fish-like features. You can see kind of on her neck there are some gills. You see there are also some kind of fins protruding from like around her face. So she looks quite, like she belongs in the ocean.
Calling it now, it's Little Mermaid.
But she'll kind of, like, she sees you kind of looking at her, and then kind of, like I said, she shoots you kind of a stern, cold look, grabs her tray, and kind of elbows the door shut behind her.
Oh, you're in trouble.
That was the last we saw of Coyra.
Wouldn't be the first time that happened in this place.
So I don't know if you want to do anything else with that.
Nope.
Okay.
I'll just go back.
Okay.
I'll tell the others how she looked like, though.
Okay.
As it might be interesting to know who's around.
Okay.
What sort of colour was she, skin-wise?
She was greenish. For the most part, her skin was greenish colored.
Interesting.
So then, following morning arrives. Well, you've already arrived because she just had breakfast delivered. But yeah, you're free to kind of proceed as you would like to.
So we got full rests and everything?
Yeah.
All right. Yay. I'm going to restore all my stuff. All my new stuff. Because we leveled up last time. Yay.
Yeah, you did.
So did we get some money from the temple?
No.
Right from the temple?
Yeah, at the evil
Dungeon
complex.
Yeah. Total, we got a whole lot of stuff. So we had chests 1 and 2 is what I had on me. So, I guess, my character, Palkas, would take the time to first count up the money that we got as best we can. He had chests 1 and 2, and chest 1 had a really large amount of copper in the thousands.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 red crystal vials with stoppers, and then he had 10 agate gemstones and a large quantity of silver.
Okay. So you're going to count up all the copper and silver?
Yes.
Okay. The copper, you have 4,500 copper pieces.
4,500.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the silver, you have 1,250 silver pieces.
1,250. All right. That's a lot of silver and copper. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of copper and silver. Blurg.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I was thinking we should do is in batches, like, I don't know if there's a bank, but try to reduce the, like, here, I have 1,000 copper, can I trade you for 10 gold coins kind of thing? Maybe not at 1,000 at a whack, though, because that kind of draws attention.
Yeah, we're fine.
Yeah, you could certainly find like a money changer.
Yeah.
So that's all 4 sacks in total, is it?
No, that's just 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So
Oh, right. Okay, I guess I've got 3 and 4.
okay, so 3 has copper pieces, 2,400 copper pieces, and 500 silver pieces.
Hold on, let me go back to this.
Right.
How much copper?
2,400.
2,400.
Okay. And
500 silver.
500 silver.
And then 4 only had the crown.
Okay.
Right.
Out of curiosity, where are you guys sorting through all this?
Right in the middle of the room that we rented.
Yeah, in our room.
Just counting it.
Yep.
We
And,
did have private rooms, but
I was just checking.
in one of our private rooms, I would imagine we'd all like
Yeah.
group together,
So-
start going through the stuff.
we didn't do this right at the hearth.
No.
That wouldn't surprise me.
No.
Well, this brings up a good point, though, because Grimm, I know you were following them when they dropped off the remains of Flynn. What would you like to do after that?
Well, depending on how late it was at the time, if it wasn't too late, I would have and just at least let the captain know, hey, the group you sent in there supposedly took care of everything. We're done.
It is pretty late in the day by the time you had finished that, because if you remember, like, the guy at the temple didn't want to deal with Palkas and Malvola and Thorn and Coyra because it was quite late. That temple was like all shut up, and so it's
In that case, I would have just left a message for him saying basically, hey, the group you sent after the cultists, they're back, having apparently dealt with the cultists. Apparently they lost one. There's your answer. Have a nice life, kind of thing.
Have a nice
Well, as far as Grimm's concerned, he was conscripted or whatever to find out what happened to you. His job is done.
Fair enough.
there is a reward that comes with that info. It actually matched the reward that the others were receiving. But the person that you leave the message with, basically tells you that if you want to kind of claim that reward, that you would need to return and talk to the captain.
Come back during business hours.
Have it sent to the Temple of Thorn. I'm not a mercenary. I didn't do it for the money.
We can change you yet.
Okay. The person that you're talking to kind of laughs a little bit and then says, Zodge will just keep it for himself in that case.
Just shrug and go on my merry way.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and I would go ahead and head over to the Elf Song Tavern. Wouldn't necessarily get a room, just kind of find a corner to kind of doze off in until I said I would meet these people, so I'll at least do that. So while they're up there fiddling around, I'm probably down in the main area waiting.
Okay. All right. So team coin counters. What do you want to do?
I guess the other part was to try and figure out if any of the stuff that we got was magical. I know we still have some backlog of other items, but just to try and figure out if a bunch of this stuff is worth, more than what it might seem.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do not have detect magic. I do not know if anyone else does.
See, I was thinking about it, but I decided against it.
I also do not have identify.
So how do you propose to figure out if things are magical?
Whatever's involved with an Arcana check, because I never know exactly what that involves. Don't think that I'd be able to figure out what it is, but I might figure out if it has a magical property about it. I don't know. I'm not a sorcerer IRL, so I kind of was going with that.
Thorn, did you have a...
Well, I was just going to say that in simpler times, earlier editions, you could get an idea of what a potion did by having the tiniest sip of it. I don't know if that's still true.
Oh yeah, we had potions, right?
Yes, we do.
Yep, I would certainly allow that.
then I shall have a tiny sip of one of the potions.
Okay. So there were, in chest number 1 that Palkas has, there were the 2 red crystal vials with gold stoppers. So you have a tiny sip of one of those, and it feels like potent, like the strongest whiskey going. It slides down your throat, and you can feel the heat of it in your belly. And instead of like that heat kind of gently fading away, it actually like builds, and your belly gets like hotter, and you know, you feel like it's getting stronger until you let out this massive burp that is like, and this puff of smoke like is joining it. And
Whoa.
you think
Good stuff.
you believe, based on that you think it's probably something to do with breathing fire.
Okay, I shall report that.
Okay. And then there were 4 other glass vials containing a red liquid. So you, and then there are also 3. I think you guys figured out the 3 flasks were alchemist fire, though, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're gonna take a sip of one of the 4 other potions. Very
I
standard
am
looking.
tempted to take a sip of the napalm, but I won't. I'll just take a sip of one of the potions.
It's good that you did it in that order. If you do,
Yeah.
Thorn takes a swig of the second potion and explodes.
Again, no.
Sprinkle some of the red one on his chunks of thorn. Take a sip of those red ones that you found in the kind of storage area, and you feel you feel your body like just kind of becomes like stronger and more vigorous, and you just feel like the most healthiest version of you that you have ever been.
Okay, that's good news. So I
Most
guess it's a healing
healthiest.
potion.
Yes. Yeah, you're pretty sure it heals.
Cool.
Right.
Okay.
Ooh, we have some healing between us. Yay!
Woohoo!
So I guess Palkas would probably say something along the lines of, you know, we should convert the money, get the rest of this appraised, sold off as we need to. Oh, pardon me. Excuse me.
Apparently, he had one of those potions.
Yeah, seriously. Fire breathing potions all around.
And then maybe we can get the magical spell books identified while we're out with the
Oh yes, I forgot about those.
with the remaining funds, because I got no idea. I mean, I could try reading them. Maybe it's a spell I already know, but if not, then.
Or you summon zombies.
And the zombies, we got to figure out what's going on with the zombies.
Indeed.
You could take a
Is
little
read
nibble.
magic still a thing?
Looks like Ghost can taste those too.
Just a little nibble of a zombie.
They make a fine stew.
I'll
Coyra,
try
give
to
me one of those beans.
Sadly,
Sure.
none of these bottles that we found are Chianti.
have one. There you go.
Okay. I shall eat a bean.
Yeah, a whole bean?
A
He's
whole
dead.
bean.
Was nice knowing you.
Okay. Alright.
I hope you have bean immunity on your new level up.
You suddenly
Kashcah,
develop
do you-
a craving for brains.
You need to know the room again. From
I will
pieces.
definitely
You have
smile
to write them
Palkas
down.
as I'm eating the thing, given he was so scared of him before.
Oh, thanks, Shay. I've got it.
Okay. As
Thank
you
you.
asked me to write it down.
Yeah. Okay, so
Falcus
Alright.
will eye you suspiciously and look like astounded, like, no. Why would you do that?
So
Life is pain, friend Palkas.
So
Anyone
why
who's
put
interested
yourself
in
through
studying
more?
Coyra gave the bean, hoping he had a better plan to
Why
not
is-
just nom.
She just rolled a D100.
Yeah, that sounds bad.
I hope you're happy.
So,
They're beans of many
am.
things.
so the bean. So are you chewing the bean first, or are you? Oh, okay.
Oh
Alright,
no.
There's suddenly a lion in my mouth.
okay. So I mean, it's actually really bitter, and the texture of it is all like gritty and kind of gross. But you manage to kind of chew it up and swallow it, and then there's this gurgling in your belly, like,
That
and
was
it just
in
gets like
corpse.
stronger
Nasty.
and yeah, and it doesn't feel good, and then you swear you feel like something just moved in
That
your
was
stomach.
It was in the chest of a dead person. I would
These, like,
expect as much.
Cuban coffee bean.
and then you feel like it feels like you're getting fuller, like you just ate something that's expanding,
You got a xenomorph coming.
and it kind of like you feel your stomach twist again, and twist some more.
I'm looking at the facial expressions he's
Oh,
giving,
sad.
and he's growing more and more concerned. Palkas actually stands up with them all, ready to like hit him if he needs to.
Don't let me suffer.
I won't.
And then just as you think you're about to kind of burst or vomit or something's gonna happen, your belly just grows very still, and it felt like something was moving around in there, and whatever was moving around in there just seems to be very still, and there's no more movement.
What are you gonna call it?
I don't
Hello,
know,
my
let's
honey.
see his eyes first.
Palkas is still standing over you with bated breath and a maul.
It seems to have stopped for the moment. It feels like I ate about, well, a pony. They're not
Don't
very
eat-
nice.
So I guess you don't want
No.
another one.
No, one's plenty. You know, it's kind of like lembas, only worse.
What is Lumnus?
I now get why Sniffles refused the bean. I mean, I get it.
I'm not certain that they're ordinary.
Right, that we found them inside a corpse. I don't know how
Well,
many
yeah,
times
but
I
that
need to
doesn't
say
do
that. You don't normally find beans in corpses.
You know, yes, but you find meat in corpses, and that's fine.
Oh, unless somebody was hiding the beans
That is
in
not
the corpse because
fine.
they communicated they would look there for the bean.
I have learned something about Thorn, and I like.
You
I
don't
thought
eat
that
sen-
I
you
was the
don't eat
messed up
sentient races.
What?
Apex predators taste horrible. Always go further down the food chain.
They were people.
You don't season them well enough.
We're gonna go back to the where in the apocalypse are we?
Yeah, apparently.
Reading the outside of the beanbag, it actually says the word Soylent Green on there, you know?
Look, I have never eaten the flesh of an elf or a half-elf.
Honestly,
What
I
more
must
can I
say,
tell you?
we never looked at the bag itself, we just looked at the beans. So,
Well, you've got the bag.
yeah.
You have that option.
After Thorn decided to eat one Coyra, actually decides to look at the bag instead of the beans to see if anything hints at what it might
It says do not
Do
eat.
not eat.
Skull and crossbones.
No, the bag is like it's made of like this rough burlap, you know, and it just looks like it was kind of hastily stitched closed. So yeah, it doesn't. The bag doesn't say anything. Doesn't have any like labels on it or anything.
Oh
Yeah, that's all.
no.
Yeah, the FDA is not exactly a thing.
Be right back.
So I couldn't have prevented anything by actually looking at the bag. I'm happy about that.
So
Careful planning does not appear to be Thorn's strong suit.
I mean, the entire team's strong suit, you mean? I mean, so far, what was our plan? Just head straight into something and hope we don't die. Look how that ended up.
Well, I mean, Palkas is sensible. And Malvola's been careful.
No, for the most part. So you piss him off, and then he's just like, I'm done with you people, you're all gonna die.
What I'm saying is we're going to be fine.
We are.
While these shenanigans are going on upstairs, out of curiosity, is there anybody else down in the lower part of the bar? Or the lower part of the tavern?
yeah, so there is somebody kind of sleeping. There's a bench along the back wall of the tavern, and there's somebody kind of sleeping back there, kind of got their, arms on the table and head down, and they're just sleeping away there. And there is somebody tending the bar as well. Looks like a human. And there is you see the occasional person kind of coming to and from the back room as well. There aren't too many like patrons, and as kind of as time goes on, people will start kind of joining and
I'm going to occupy myself, pull out my flute, and play softly so I hopefully don't wake up the person. Got to practice.
Sure.
That and kill time.
Mm-hmm.
I take it I should make a performance check.
Sure. Yeah, if you're
This could go really bad. It's okay music, not great music.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you practice, right?
That and to give myself something to do while I wait for a meeting.
So, shenanigans aside with beans and coins and potions, what else do you guys want to do?
Probably go downstairs, and on the way to getting things changed out, we end up running into Grimm. That'd be
Okay.
my guess.
So Grimm, you see the group kind of coming downstairs, looking perhaps slightly nervous with the fact that they've got chests of coin that they're hauling about.
They're still dragging those bags around. Great.
Don't know what you're talking about. There's no bags.
I mean, we have
I
to
just
show our skills
I just
somehow.
continue playing. It's on them to approach.
Okay, so you guys see when you come down the following morning, Alan, the owner, is tending the bar. There's a human, looks like a man, sleeping on the table against the back wall, and there is the person who you freed from kind of kidnapping by the cultists yesterday is playing a flute.
Oh. Playing a flute.
Sitting at one of the tables, kind of leaning perhaps against the wall or something.
Yeah, I figure kick back a little bit, feet up on the table, chair partially leaning as he plays. Totally relaxed.
Hello, Grimm, wasn't it? Would you like a bean? Horrible.
Do not take the bean, please.
You get the flattest, are you kidding me stare.
Thank you.
And he doesn't stop playing as he stares at you like that.
Yeah, I
Order
guess.
breakfast.
Yeah, we'd approach and at least I would approach. Probably sit down at the table, realizing that our objective might be momentarily dissuaded since he's already here. Might have been here the whole time.
Yeah, think.
How long have you been waiting? As Palkas sits down, and I'm assuming you're at a table or something.
Stop playing. Drop my feet off it. No, I'll leave my feet on the table. All morning. What did you want to discuss?
Well, we were on our way back. Oh gosh, what's his name? Not him. Trying to come up. With
We still need to go talk to Guardsman Sludge or whatever his name was.
Yep,
So-
yep.
Captain Zodge.
Captain Dodge, yes. Sorry, we've got a bug that's just rampantly running around the room right now.
It's
I'll
alright.
get her.
It's alright.
Okay. So, I guess Palkas would say, we're going to go to, and he'd look at the sacks and say, a place on the way to see Captain Zudge. Captain Zodge. And see about letting him know of our successes and failures in clearing out the cultists.
I left him a message about it last night, but I suppose you have coin to collect.
Yes, we do use it for our own benefits, but also to help those in the city.
Was there anything else?
Well,
You said you wanted to meet this morning, and I assumed it would be about something more than reporting in.
But I assume
I
he's going to want us to do more to help the city, and we're a bit short-handed.
are you of the Flaming Fist? Or were you conscripted?
I was conscripted to check on you.
Oh,
That was the extent of my conscription as far as I'm concerned.
well. We were asked to take care of some pesky things in the city that obviously needed taken care of. We did lose a member or two along the way.
I
And
think we might need to hit some Van Thampers.
I don't think our job is done yet, though, as the city seems to have a bit of, trouble. How did you get mixed up in all this?
Escorting some people to the city, got conscripted to check on you guys. Otherwise, I'd be back out in the wild.
Well, the path that I think we're on, and he looks at the other people in the party, and he says, may very well lead us to to another Van Thampir.
Another?
There are several.
Yeah.
Remember, he never met the first one.
Right. You're right back.
So the whole idea of another is like, okay, what do you mean?
They're the people who captured you
Sorry.
and did bad things to you.
I thought those were dragon cultists.
They're working for the Van Thampers. That was what we learnt down in the dungeon. And they've killed at least one of the dukes of the city, apparently by banishing him to hell somehow. They're clearly a humongous danger. And I get the feeling that in order to stop Baldur's Gate from being dragged down to the abyss as well, or Nine Hells or wherever, we're going to have to take the fight to the rest of the family.
You seem to be someone who has no love for them. Perhaps even a score to settle. And we could use the extra help if you're interested in joining up.
I have no real care about nobility one way or the other. Everyone's the same in my... It's intents and actions that matter to me.
Yes, well, that's the thing. Their intent and action appears to be to destroy
To overthrow the
entire
city.
chunks of population.
Indeed, we actually freed another prisoner you probably saw with us. They had been torturing them in the dungeons down below. Not all of them made
And
it.
this Van Thamper family was behind that.
Yep.
Most of them,
What's your intention toward the family?
at this point. For the
Punching them
chaos
until they
and
stop.
death
Yeah.
that they've caused. Kill.
Or at the very least, hand them over to someone who can deal with the matter properly. But primarily, stop them destroying Baldur's Gate or any random cities that they use as traps.
They might even have a hand in whatever happened with El Terrell.
Del Torrell, that's the place, yes. They certainly implied that. The implication was that they lured the other Duke out to El Torrell and then banished it to the Nine Hells.
Whether that was coincidental or on purpose is yet to be seen, but
I'm pretty sure it was intentional because she seems to be wanting to get the other high, counselors out.
Yeah. And yes, I agree. I certainly don't think it was coincidental, but it might have been a fortunate happenstance that she got to use that ploy, or she might have been actively behind it. There's no way to tell at this point. But, sending cities into head is bad.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know the lot of you. I don't trust you. However,
I do
For
know these
now,
people
our
and I don't
past-
trust them.
for now, our paths seem to be going in the same general direction, so until you prove yourself otherwise or give me cause to leave, we'll see how things go.
I would expect the same of you.
Welcome aboard.
I assume you all have names.
No.
So, yeah,
I'm kidding.
You have mine, but you never gave yours.
I'm Thorn.
Coyra.
Palkas.
I am Malvola.
Now we're acquainted. Now, what were you saying you were planning to do this morning?
We were just dropping off some of these, some of the items we had found in exchange for. And he seems to be searching for the word for monies. And he says, and then report in to the captain. Not that we
So your
were
plans to
for him, but
change all the coin you've got into something a little lighter to carry, I hope?
Yeah, something a bit less
Yes.
obvious.
Yes.
we had some objects we wanted to have identified as well, whether they be for ill or good. It would be good to know what they did before we proceeded to do anything with them.
Is there like a temple of Ayun or something?
Yep.
They might, I mean, that's the kind of place that might be able to help us. That at least isn't going to be some shady backstreet wizard who's going, oh yeah, this is a bit banged up, mate. Give you 50 for it, cut me on the throat.
Wizard in an alley with a trench coat. You're like, you want to buy a potion?
I mean, to be honest, most of the people I know in Baldur's Gate are like that. And yeah, they're not very trustworthy.
You're never going to let me live that down, are you?
Wait, what
That
are you
was
guys
you?
trying to do? What are you guys trying to do?
Get some stuff identified
And sell.
and change all this copper and silver into gold.
Do you make the intentions with items known? Well, there's
Say that again, you cut out.
you said you were trying to get things identified.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something you express while you're sitting at the table? Basically, is it something that Grimm would know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I can't help you identify things, but I can tell you whether they're magical.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm.
It would certainly save us some time.
Mm-hmm.
His hand drops down to the medallion on his belt and whispers a soft prayer, basically cast Detect Magic.
Okay.
Nice.
So you see, obviously the potions that they've got are magical. The beans are also magical.
Most of them.
The remaining being.
The remaining beans. Let's see, what else?
There's that crown of... We're not supposed to know it's Tiamat.
The crown is not magical.
That's a relief, actually.
And then also there was the
dragon
porcelain
mask.
Dragon mask, yep, which is also not magical.
I also have a gold necklace, a pearl ring, spell books from room D11, a pair of gauntlets that I got that were previously punching us in the air from an animated suit.
So the gauntlets,
Wow, we picked up a lot of crap.
right?
Yes.
It's like all pack mule strolling around. Obviously the spell books, right? Those have magical contents, right?
Mm-hmm.
The books themselves have no additional magic beyond that.
Okay.
Yeah, concentrate for up to 10 minutes. Yeah. So, the gauntlets are no longer magical, but perhaps Grimm can detect that there was some kind of aura around them previously. Some
So basically, residual trace.
yeah. And then you gotta wait. What was
The gold necklace was given to me early on. I think that was just payment. And then a pearl ring.
Do you know? Do you have a room number or anything?
I have no room number because I think it was given to me before we went into the dungeon.
No, that was before. That was from. I think that was stuff looted from. What's his name here? Elfsong Town.
Yep.
Yeah, that was off of the guy that we
Oh,
killed
yes,
on the
that's
stairs.
right.
Oh,
Yes.
yep. No, neither of those are magical.
So just the potions,
Okay.
and
It's the potions
And the
and
beans.
books.
That was
and the
it?
beans.
Okay. And the
Potions,
beans.
books, beans. Yep.
and the beans.
There is also the silvered flail that I've been using,
Oh, that's
and
good.
the shield.
The shield came from one of the guys, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That was just a regular shield. Yep.
Okay.
The silvered flail doesn't have anything magical going on with it. But it is silver. Kind of handy in itself.
Mm-hmm.
And what? I don't know what school of magic would the potions be.
Well, we think we may have identified them though, like fire breath, healing,
Yeah.
and then the orange liquid was the alchemist fire.
Yeah.
So just pretty much you verifying that they're magical.
Any indication on school of magic from the beans?
That's a good one.
One
Divination.
moment.
Necromancy. Zombies.
Swallow your soul.
Zombies.
No, they're not necromantic. Hang on. Let me look at the. Never remember the damn
Disappointment. Alright, let's see. Spells.
It's actually kind of difficult to pin down.
Each bean has a different field.
Pretty much.
There's now 99 beans left.
Wait, there weren't 100.
They've been
You get
multiplying.
Oh God, who fed them
That
after
is what the
midnight?
magic is that they just keep coming back. Like the bag is always full.
Does
Maybe
that mean they'll multiply in Thorn's stomach?
Oh god.
Yes, he never has to eat again.
Because he's dead.
You get
He has perpetual gas, right?
Yes, that's the unfortunate follow-up is that he has like 10 to a penalty of his stealth.
you get a
Everyone a winner.
mix.
Sneaking
of-
through a dungeon and suddenly let one rip.
Everybody dies.
Put out that lantern.
And then Flynn blows us up with his lantern.
Ghost.
No,
of
he can't do that. He's dead.
Flynn. Ghost of Flynn.
Unless his ghost comes back to do it.
Which I don't know. If I was Flynn's ghost,
Anyway,
I'd
I
be pretty
convey
tempted.
that the potions are magical. The beans are magical, but it's hard to pin down exactly what type of magic they are.
You
You'd be
get,
better off finding a mage to actually identify them.
you get a mix of like transmutation, evocation, enchantment. It's kind of It's a bit of a.
Those beans are such a hodgepodge of magics that they might transform, evoke something. They're definitely enchanted. Yeah, find a wizard.
Palkas says to Thorn, I'm still watching you.
Why are you watching him?
He ate
He
one.
ate one.
No, I ate one earlier. It was really nasty.
Reach for the knife in the back of my belt.
Do not recommend.
See?
Kashcah, turn the baby.
You know, just in case we have to cut it out of him.
Thank you.
Skinning an elf shouldn't be too much different from skinning an animal.
So much the same.
Right. So shall we go get these things identified and report to the captain?
This should be an amusing morning.
Okay.
I'll kind of tag along behind them, keeping an eye on Thorn now that I know he ate one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
One hand not far from the coil on my hip.
Sure. Alright, so you head back to the Basilisk Gate, and actually let me just show you kind of where on the map that is. There we go. So Basilisk Gate is over there.
So far.
So you head back over there, and it is like a frenzy of activity again. There's, again, you get kind of this reminder of how much turmoil there is in the city at the moment. There's people trying to get out of the gate, people trying to get into the gate. There's arguments with a Flaming Fists contingent that's kind of guarding the gate. And they're just kind of, it's a couple of times it looks like a fight's going to break out, and eventually, in amongst all this chaos, all this shouting, you're able to see kind of Captain Zodge in amongst the crowd, and he's busy yelling at some kind of subordinate Flaming Fist guy. And kind of yelling at him about, letting people, how could he let people in? They didn't have the right papers, not supposed to let anybody in. This isn't a game, he's telling him, does he understand how, the hierarchy of Flaming Fist works? And, he's just completely ripping this guy like a new one, basically.
I think we all just kind of stand there and wait for him to finish with what he's doing and see that we're there and waiting for him.
Okay.
So the Duke that the mother of the evil thumper people sent away is the guy who's the head of the Flaming Fist, right?
The Van Tampers?
Please see.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, not the Van Tampers, the guy that she sent away. Yes.
Yeah. Right. Okay, well that's a good opener then.
Ulder Ravengard.
Yes. So we have a nice strong opener. The Van Thampers murdered your boss.
The city boss.
Well, yes, but also Zodge's in particular.
So he kind of catches your eye after, yelling at this poor unfortunate sod that's done something wrong, and says, "Oh, I'd almost given up on you for dead." Says,
One of us is.
he says, "What news?"
We
seem
slaughtered
awfully-
everything down there that wasn't a prisoner.
He
They're
says,
wiped out.
"Okay." He kind of beckons this guy, gives this guy kind of the signal to come over, and
But you should know, Captain, that the Van Thampers murdered your boss.
what? He says,
The Van Thampers are behind the cultist. They lured Alder Ravensguard, or whatever his actual name is.
Older
I'm
Raven
sure
Guard.
Thor probably has a better idea than I do. They lured him out to, oh my god, El Barrio, Del Sitio,
El Terrell. El Terrell.
El Terrell.
Yes.
I know. Cheese brain tonight. El Terrell. And then had it consigned to the Nine Hells. El Terrell is gone, and Ravensguard with it. And it's the work of the Duke Van Thamper.
he says, and he beckons you in close, and he kind of leans in, and he says, "If I were you, I'd be careful about, what accusations you sling around without any proof. Have you got any proof of this?"
Really? Why?
He says, "Van Thampers own half this city."
I thought I was making a report to Flaming Fist. I do apologise. I didn't realise I was a politician all of a sudden. We spoke extensively to Morton Van Thamper, is it?
Mortlock.
Mortlock.
Mhm.
Mortlock Van Thamper. And he, his mother sent assassins after him. He was furious. He was being captured and attacked and stuff. And
You
he
see,
dished all the dirt on the whole thing.
Captain Zodge kind of roll his eyes, like, he says, "And you believed him?" He says, "This kind of like family politics." Says,
Well, the thing is, you're a member of the Flaming Fist, and this Ravensguard guy is your leader. So we don't have any skin in this game. I figure that since your leader was just dragged to hell by this Van Thamper woman, you might want to know about it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
We also found Mortlock being attacked by the cultists.
he says, "Once again, not getting involved in these family politics." He says, "And as far as my boss being in the Nine Hells," he says, "we'll see about that."
Well, I hope you won't.
We also found several prisoners were being held by the cultists. We were able to save 2 of them. Well, 3 if you include Mortlock. But he wasn't really a prisoner as much as just being attacked.
And in the process, we wiped out loads of cultists, loads of undead, destroyed lots of altars to the Dark Three. Oh, it's all under a bathhouse that the Van Thampers own.
I'd have known we needed to keep one alive.
He says, "Look, all I'm saying," he says, first of all, I appreciate you clearing that up for me. The bathhouse was, clearly a mess, and I appreciate you taking care of that for me." He says, as if you didn't have, as if you had a choice not to. But he does, the guy who he'd beckoned over returns with some kind of small money bags, and he kind of hands out the reward that you were promised to you all, and also kind of spies you back there, Grimm, and says, "I see you managed to rally them." He says, "Take your cut as well."
Yes, he found us. He was great. Not a prisoner at all.
And so he says, "Look, we'll find out what's happened to Older Ravengard. He's the Grand Duke. Of course we're going to find out what's happened to him." He says, "He's probably just he's probably on his way back from El Terrell right now." He says,
"Well, maybe, but you're going to find the Van Thamper woman Grand Duke very soon. Just saying."
He says, all of this is a little bit above my pay grade. Says,
How do you think I feel? I don't even live here.
I agree.
He says, I will pass on your report. He kind of like overemphasizes to the commander. He says, but he says, for now, maybe you and I should just be grateful that this kind of activity isn't ours to take care of.
That seems like a good policy.
Palkas says, no, it's not.
I mean, we're still going to go and kill these other guys anyway, but, that's a different matter.
Do you intend on acting on this information?
He says,
Of course he doesn't.
He says, like I said, I'm going to pass this on to my commander. My commander Portier has, has commanded me to keep peace at this gate right here. He says, that's what I'm going to do. He says, I'll let Commander Portier take control of the rest of it. He knows what's going on in El Terrell, I'm sure. So, thank you very much. He says, and until we need your services again, you are required to remain in the city.
And Palkas actually opens up the little belt pouch, one of them on it, that he's got the badge in. He takes it out and says, I don't think we'll need to.
He says, are you sure? He says, you never know. He says, perhaps you should just hang on to that for now. And he kind of pushes your hand back towards you.
Fine, I'll give it to a beggar. He seems very unhappy.
He looks
with
at you, Thorn, and says,
rose.
Tell me you know better than that.
Don't worry, we'll stop giving it to anyone.
He shoots you a look.
I mean, Palkas, it's worth money.
And he just kind of goes...
Captain Zodge goes, oh. Captain Zodge kind of starts backing away, and then a fight really does break out, and Captain Zodge kind of dives into the brink of it and disappears out of view while he's in the midst of this fight somewhere. You see fists kind of flying and
To Palkas, Grimm would be like, you're wasting your breath. Didn't you have other things to attend to?
Yes. And
if you want justice, you're going to have to find it yourself.
And he looks at everyone else
They
and
won't
says,
help.
I would. It's obvious that the city protectors aren't going to do anything about it. Innocents are being killed,
They're mercenaries.
captured.
Oh, let's go dig into this little corruption, shall we?
Yes.
How much did Zodge give us? I have no idea what we were... I didn't even know we were getting a reward, honestly.
He gave you 200 gold pieces each.
Each?
Wow.
Each. Wow.
Superb.
Very generous of him.
It was.
Dang. Well, we did lose 2 people along the way. Okay. On to the money changer place, I guess. And then maybe a Temple of Ioun to try and get some of these things identified before we move on with our own personal missions.
The only thing we really need to identify, aren't they? We have a pretty good idea of the potions.
We've got the books. Yeah.
Oh, the books, yes, that's true. We didn't know what spells were in them.
Would the books show up as magic inherently?
Yeah.
Then, yeah, I would have let them know about that too.
Okay.
On the way to find a money changer, I will be looking for a temple to Thorn. Just kind of keeping an eye out for one.
Okay. Yep. So you can fairly easily locate a money changer, and they will ask you for 5% as their fee to exchange coins.
Seems fair enough.
Yeah, considering we didn't have this money before.
and they're happy to change to your copper and silver to gold, basically.
Yay. So then we just move some decimal points over, so that's silver, then that is gold, so that's 45 gold pieces, and then silver is 125 gold pieces, and then this is 24 gold pieces, including a 5%. Okay. Just put that in chat.
Do I find a temple on the way?
You will spy one, yeah. The temples are kind of like, they're spaced out well enough that they don't kind of encroach on each other. So you will see one. You'll see one kind of out the corner of your eye, kind of up one of the streets as you pass by, towards probably after the money changer, but before the Temple of Ioun.
Okay, as they're heading toward the money changer, I look at them. I'll join you in a few. This is probably going to take you at least a little bit. I have something else I must attend to, and head for the Temple of Thorn.
If we miss you, we'll be on the way towards the Temple of Ioun.
This won't take me long.
Okay. All right. So you can easily spot the temple.
I imagine the temple is open to visitors.
Yeah.
I'll go in, look for one of the priests, clerics, or a donation box.
Okay. Yeah. You'll see.
And I take 150 of the 200 gold and donate it to the temple.
Okay.
Identifying myself as a brother.
Yeah, they'll see you kind of putting the gold in there, and their eyes get very big, and they are incredibly grateful and thank you for the very generous donation.
I make sure they see the symbol on my belt.
Okay. Yep, they
have more need of it than I do.
They kind of do they recognize the symbol and bow their heads and kind of will shake your hand in kind of brotherhood.
And then I go off to meet them, which I imagine they haven't finished their...
Yeah, you can catch up with them quite quickly.
Right. Which, by the way, the four of us from the money changing get 58 gold pieces each. Split amongst each other. Or, because Ghostwoods did the 232 gold pieces, including the fee. So... add that to whatever amount you already have. There we go. Cool. And then I do that. Got it. Okay. So on to the Temple of Ioun, because that should take care of those. Anybody want any chests? Otherwise, he's just gonna ditch them. All right, so chests are getting ditched in the nearest dumpster and stuff.
Sure.
And then onto the Temple of Ioun to get the magical books identified.
Okay. All right. So Temple of Ioun, they kind of, there's various kind of low-level priests in the main kind of common area within the temple.
Mm-hmm.
And you can approach one of them, and when you explain kind of what you're after, they point you in the direction of some kind of doors that are along one of the sides of the building, one of the sides of the common room.
Mm-hmm.
And as you kind of approach this,
I was unplugging something else and it pulled the cord for that.
As you approach the door, there's a very tall, thin man standing at the door. and he kind of asks your business.
We have some spell books we need identified. We're willing to pay for the service.
Okay.
I want some beans. Which I know sounds mad, but
Okay. Yeah, he'll kind of gesture towards a donation box that is right outside the doors of these kind of, and you can see behind him it looks kind of like an office almost. You know, there's like a great wooden desk and you know, there's some various chairs around and bookcases, kind of lined with all kinds of books. So he'll gesture towards the box and kind of, he carefully observes you. He's got these kind of very small, narrow glasses on the edge of his nose, and he carefully kind of observes you, making sure that you do donate before he steps into this kind of office room.
I'm donating 18 gold.
Okay. When he sees you putting that much, he becomes very cheerful. Okay. And just stops looking at whatever anybody else donates and steps inside and kind of gestures for you to join him. And he sits kind of behind the desk, again, glasses kind of perched on the end of his nose, looking over the top of them at you, and says, "Show me the books."
He pulls out the books. It's D11 from the underground basement of the bathhouse.
Bathhouse basement. Okay, D11.
And, of course, then there will be the beans as well.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay. So he
You've
kind
got quite a few books from various tombs.
So he kind of begins kind of leafing through these spell books and says, he's kind of, you know, reading through them and says, "Oh yes, burning hands, detect magic, disguise self." So he's kind of like, he's just reading through the spells and saying them out loud as he's reading them. So do you want me to put these in chat?
Yes, because I was just starting to type that. That would be
Okay.
great.
All right, so I'm just going to do this. Boop. So this is the first one.
Okay.
Okay. Then,
Wow, that's actually not bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the second one.
Palkas would be able to learn these, wouldn't he? I'm not sure how sorcerers work compared to wizards in terms of learning the spells.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't have the ability to learn them.
And then there's the third one.
Yeah, I don't think we have anyone that can learn spells from a spell book.
What is our last one?
Cloud daggers.
Tasha's hideous laughter.
A very fun spell.
Basically, it makes your target laugh to the extent that they cannot inhale and
They
suffocate
can't really
because
do
they
anything.
cannot stop.
That's a fun death.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it takes them to the point of not being able to breathe anymore.
Well, you never know. Depends on how
Well,
low on
I
health they
mean-
are.
If you can
And it
do
all depends
anything
on whether or
else,
not they make
whack.
their saving throw.
Yeah.
What's that, Shay?
What was that? Sure.
If they can't do anything else, whack.
Right.
Oh yeah, it makes them very vulnerable to attack.
My favorite part about the spell is it requires a material component. You have to throw tarts at them.
Tiny little tarts.
So
Pastry and a bad joke.
I guess Palkas would probably ask if the personal rune on spellbook number 2 would be identifiable or recognizable.
It's not one that you recognize.
He was asking the guy that's identifying.
Oh, okay. He says, no, this is just their own personal mark. He
Okay.
says, this isn't a particular word or anything.
Would you know of a place nearby that we could offer these for? Exchange for, and he looks down again, looks back at monies.
He says, well, the best place to sell spellbooks is nowhere in Baldur's Gate. He says, I would take these to Candlewood Keep.
Candlewood Keep? What's there?
Oh, sorry, Candlekeep.
Candlekeep. What's at Candlekeep?
Imagine a giant library.
Yeah. So actually, and you would know actually if Candlekeep is like actually a separate city. There is, giant library. He says, although it may cost you one of these books to get in there, he says, or if you find some other text that they don't have.
So there's no good place to sell these here?
He says, not if you want to get their true value. He says, especially not at this most chaotic time. He says, people aren't really in the market for spellbooks right now. I'm sure you can understand.
No. But I thank you for your help.
Also, we had this pouch, really rather unpleasant bean. Coyra?
Coyra hands over the beans and asks, like, could you look at these too, please?
Okay. So he kind of narrows his eyes and squints at them, like he's holding. He kind of carefully removes them from the bag and he's holding them in the palm of his hand and he's kind of squinting at them. He says, I don't plan on it. He says, and I would not recommend it.
Coyra just gives a little
Palkas' eyes.
He says, I have never seen some of these before, he says, but these are magic beans for sure. He says, it's impossible to tell what they will do exactly, but if you plant them, then they will produce the effect that they are destined for.
And what if you accidentally ate one?
His face grows into this horrible grimace. He says,
it wasn't an accident. I did it on purpose.
He kind of looks at you and says, yes, magic beans, and he puts them back in the. Here you go. Is that everything? He's kind of like, I think. Actually, I have an appointment. Perhaps I could see you out.
Palkas
right away.
Would try to intimidate an answer out of him, and just put a hand on his shoulder while holding them all, in kind of a threatening way a bit, and say, "Please go on."
He says. He looks at you, Thorn. Did you really eat one of them?
It was a couple of hours ago, and I haven't globed it yet.
Oh.
It was rather unpleasant.
He's kind of looking around like, who can save me?
It was magic. We found them in a corpse.
Palkas says, "Speak quickly. Do I kill all that he has touched?" He shook your hand, did he not? And he just kind of looks at him.
He says, look, I can't tell you what the beans do. He says, if you've survived this long... Wait, how long ago did you eat the bean?
A couple of hours.
He says, if you've survived this long, then you're probably fine. He says, I can't tell you what the beans do. You don't know until you plant them.
Oh.
He says, they can do anything from, erupting a geyser of wine to... summoning horrible sprouts.
Are these effects immediate?
He says, generally, within a minute or so.
He lifts his hand off the guy's shoulder and quickly approaches Thorn and gets down on his knees and puts his head up, his ear up against Thorn's chest and stomach area and starts listening and says, "Hold still."
I will hold my breath.
Do you want me to make a perception? I'll roll it just for RP's sake, whether you need it or not.
Perception, okay.
There
yes, I will. You hear? It sounds like Thorn ate some questionable kebabs last night, but aside from that,
It Doesn't
know.
feel as bad as it did, friend Palkas. I am cautiously optimistic.
So
Coyra,
Next time,
some
don't.
shady takeout,
Sorry.
perhaps, but
Coyra asks the person, like, if Thorn could describe you what he felt, do you have any chance of knowing what it could have caused to him?
he says, "Oh, there are too many possibilities." He says, "You know, I have heard that one of the things that can happen is a giant beanstalk sprouts." He says, and at the top of it, because it is such a great height, at the top of it, it can either be. Some people have said that they've seen a cloud giant's castle at the top. He says, "I can't believe you survived this."
And if you kill the giant, you get a big pickaxe.
Which allows you to go to the final castle.
Oh, good.
Perhaps we should cut it out of him.
Palkas believes this guy, hook, line, and sinker. You know, everything that he just said. And he says, we should go. It's unsafe for this sprout to grow in here.
He says,
Thorn, it's been good knowing you.
He says, if the sprout was going to grow, it would have grown by now. He says, I think you must be very lucky. He says to...
I think so too.
He's been known to lead a blessed life.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing.
There is, in the back of the last spellbook, there is a little slip of paper that has, like, and the guy who you're dealing with just kind of passes over it because it's not magical at all, but it has like a little list on there.
Was is that?
Things not to eat.
Magic beans! Don't eat the beans!
Corpse beans.
So it seems to have like a list of, you can't tell, some of them are sound like items or books or something like that. One of them though is definitely a book, because the title even says the name of the tome, and it says the Book of Fragments.
The Book of Fragments?
Mm-hmm.
Does any of us know about it?
Thorn is going to go pale and stagger a little.
That actually kind of reinforces we should go to Candlekeep.
Okay. That's
What does the rest of the note say? Is there any of this?
Hang on one sec. Yeah.
I'm going. If someone's mentioned that out loud, I'm going to snatch the note. That's the book that killed my brother.
Does it have 6 fingers?
I could explain it to you, but it would rip every shred of joy from your existence. It is not
I'm
a
starting to
kindness
think
to
all
inform
these
you.
people are full of it.
Palkas says, I think we should move out from here.
No,
Thank you.
wait. I need to look at this list.
Look at the list.
What else is on there?
So there are, hang on, I'm just trying to find the other name that's...
I mean, it doesn't have to be specific. General stuff.
Yeah. There's a name called Phalaster Fisk. That's on there. Why can't I find the other thing that there's another name that looks like a book, or perhaps even the name of a scroll. There's another name that looks like the name of a person. Fendrick Grey is on there.
Meanwhile, Palkas is like, maybe I shouldn't fling books at people. Just thinking, little afterthought. Stick to torches.
You wouldn't want to give him a paper cut.
That's what killed his brother.
There's also here's the name I was looking for, Apocalypto.
I did not write any of that down in the quest log, so
I'm jotting notes. I'll type it up in a minute. I'll wave the list at the priest and say, what can you tell me about any of these things, particularly the Book of Fragments? I will give you more money.
The priest says, he says, I'm just here to identify magical items. He says, this is my specialty. I can't tell you what any of these names mean, frankly.
Do you have a colleague here who can research information, who can find things out?
He says, no, seriously, your best place for research is Candlekeep.
Very well. Thank you.
So, our business is concluded. I take that as a yes.
And the bespectacled man seems to be quite happy to conclude.
Probably wants everybody gone.
So I'd assume that we could, we've got a few routes to go. We could, one, try and sell off some of the stuff that we got, like the dragon mask or the crown, things of that nature. See if we can find some local shop that would buy this stuff. We could try and track down, what was it, Amrick at the Low Lantern Tavern, who's been paying the cultists that we just killed and killed some of us. Or we could go the route of Candlekeep. See if we could get
Well, the
passage.
problem with Candlekeep is we're not allowed to leave the city.
Oh, right. All right, so that's temporarily put on the back burner.
How difficult can it be to go?
And in terms of a dragon mask and that crown, if they're associated with Tiamat, I wouldn't exactly flash them around.
Right.
I mean, I work for a fence. I work with a fence here. We won't get good prices, but he'll shift anything that's shiftable.
Perhaps.
And if you want answers, Emmerich sounds like your best bet.
Yes.
So perhaps
yes, we got this book from the cultist. So that note came from a cultist. So Vampers might know more. At least while we're waiting to get to Candle. But just sneak out probably.
Sounds like these vampires need to answer some questions.
I agree. Perhaps you give some of these items to your fence?
Yeah, sure. We can pick whatever you want to see what it'll give us for them, and we'll keep it especially good.
I would assume that we would probably do the delicate porcelain dragon mask.
Yeah.
And
you
the
don't want
brown,
to hold that around with you? See how long it lasts?
the bronze crown with 5 spires painted to resemble each chromatic dragon. Or we could just destroy that. Either way.
I mean, it might be worth something. It doesn't really matter. Who cares?
Neither one's magical, so
Yeah.
there's that.
And then I think we should just hang on to the magic books for now.
Okay.
You never know.
Where did you say this Amrick was to be found?
At the Low Lantern Tavern.
Which any of you who spent any time in the city is vaguely aware of this place. It's
Flynn was.
You
Palkas
know
says.
that it is a boat, actually. It's on what was once a seaworthy boat. Now it is just kind of like permanently docked. And it's now become this tavern. Obviously you didn't know that Amrick was hanging out there, but you are kind of aware of it, just as you would have been aware of the existence of Elfsong.
Do we want to get rid of the bits with my fence
Yes.
before going to the tavern or not? Okay.
Yes, I don't want to have these artifacts on us.
The guy's name is Adar Fesh, which I'm just putting into chat.
Okay.
He's near the Gate District in the north.
Shall we meet you at the tavern in, say, a few hours?
Yes, of course. No problem.
Okay.
Cool. DM, that work?
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. I mean, I don't feel that any particular need to roleplay that out if you'd like to, kashcah. So if you want to hand wave it, if you want to not hand wave it, that's also fine.
Okay. Yeah, I'll save that perhaps for a more meaningful moment. Sure. So so you're selling the mask and the crown?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your fence does seem a little kind of leery about taking the crown. But we'll return to you. He says probably 250 for both the mask and the crown. 250 gold pieces.
Pleasure as always.
Okay. All right. And so then you're all kind of meeting up and heading to the lowland, or what's the plan?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So anything you guys want to do before that, or you're all done, basically, ready to move on?
I think we've done quite enough.
I'm ready to roll.
Okay.
Can't leave the city, so yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Sure, we can.
I'll keep following these crazy people for now.
If I spot a weapon shop, I'd like to service.
Oh, what was that? Sorry.
If we pass a weapon shop, I would like to just pick up a simple rapier.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing fancy, I just want to switch up from a short sword.
Yep.
I would want to sell the longbow and mace that I had picked up in the dungeon.
Okay.
So what?
A longbow and a mace.
Yeah.
Grimm might be willing to take that longbow off your hands.
I'll gladly give it over, as I tried to use it once and it almost ended up in one of my teammates.
Having options when it comes to range.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
So yeah, I'll hand the longbow over to Grimm.
Okay.
Then
How much do you want for it?
keep it.
Also, Thorn will give everyone 50 mask, including Grimm.
If you try to hand Grimm money from the sale of that stuff, he'll probably look at you like you just gave him the biggest insult in the world.
Okay. Okay, fair point. Then 62 each.
Okay.
63.
You can get for your mace. You can get a couple of gold pieces.
Good enough. I'm just happy to get rid of it.
Okay. And
How many arrows, by the way?
How many did you say? Sorry.
2 gold pieces for your mace.
Okay. Yep.
How many arrows were there?
No idea.
Hang on.
That's actually something I didn't think about.
There are 8 arrows.
Is there a premium over players' pricing for rapier? I mean, the cities of war, they're probably...
Sorry, I missed what the last part was.
The cities of war, so I wouldn't...
Oh, the readily, yeah. Hang on one sec. Let me look.
If they have a rapier on hand, that's a pretty skilled weapon. That's not something that like a schmo soldier would be issued because
Oh, that's true.
the combat style doesn't fit to battalion style level tactics.
That point.
You will find a rapier. It's going to cost you 25 gold pieces, though.
That's fantastic. Carefully sold.
Okay.
Along the
Just
way,
remember, stick them with the pointy end.
Palkas
have
would.
my short sword as a trade-in, unless someone else wants it.
Oh, thanks.
I could use it, but I see no point.
It's pretty pointless.
Palkas would realize that he doesn't have a healing kit.
Oh, it's all used up?
No, he doesn't have it anymore.
Oh.
It's
That's
missing.
No.
what I gave it
Yeah,
back
she
to you.
did. She did put it back in your pack.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Coyra just looks over at Palkas and says, "Look again, I put it in your pocket."
Oh, it was the wrong pocket. Thank you. I have too many pockets.
Alright. So are we ready to... Everybody done shopping?
Yep.
To the tavern.
Okay. So we're going to do a little bit of this and then we'll probably call it. So I'm moving you guys over to a new map. So you should see
The boat.
map of a boat, hopefully.
Cool.
Okay. So so you can see kind of this is, you know, the wharf area where you approach, and then there's some steps here to board the boat. So let me give you the description. So, fog obscures the low lantern until you get within about 100 feet of it, whereupon its tall masts and creaking bulk come into view. The converted ship has rigging but no sails, and is anchored to the wharf by thick chains. A wooden staircase climbs from the wharf's edge to the main deck. A lantern at the bow casts an eerie green light to signify that the tavern is open for business.
Well, let's head on in.
Mm-hmm.
You should have, everybody should have their tokens. Yeah, okay. Alright, so you can climb up here. What you notice as soon as you kind of get up to this area is that there are dead seagulls on the deck. And there are two ravens kind of squawking at you.
Two ravens?
Yes, they're kind of up in amongst all the kind of hardware of the ship, and they're squawking down at you.
Squawk back.
I don't like this place.
Coyra, are you really good with working out how the birds might have died?
That's a good question. I have absolutely no idea. I could take a look at him.
Okay. Yeah. If you
Want
roll,
me to roll anything?
yeah, medicine check. That will let me tell you hopefully some info about how they.
I wouldn't eat the food here.
We'll take a look as well.
I'm done for food for the day.
Where is it?
Should be in your skill list.
It's about midway down on the skills.
Oh, thank you.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Oh.
so yeah, you totally aced that. Strangely, the seagulls look like they have been stung to death.
Stung to death?
Stung to death, like something has stung them, and it's killed them.
As in, rocks being thrown. Right?
No, as in wasps and bees.
Okay, I thought
Oh, yeah.
I thought she said stoned. I was
Yeah,
like, okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
Nope, that would be a bigger bummer, perhaps. Nope, something has stung them. With a
That's
stinger.
worrying.
Yeah, this is worrying. They have been stung to that, so we
Palkas.
may want to be careful.
So the other thing you see up here, right? Obviously there are steps kind of up to either end of the ship, the bow and the stern. And another set of steps descending where Malvola is, into the ship. So there's also a padlocked wooden hatch fitted with windows, that is kind of a skylight. That's what you see in the center here. A skylight to the deck below. And you can hear kind of noise drifting up from the lower area of the ship. You hear laughter, you hear kind of drinks being, glasses being clinked together, and you hear lots of kind of chatter. Definitely people downstairs.
Where did you say these ravens are in relationship to us?
They're up in at the crow's nest, actually, kind of.
Funny.
Surprise, surprise.
Where else would they be?
Just because he doesn't like them watching, Grimm will let out a noise that, for anyone familiar with nature, would be reminiscent of a mountain lion roar
Okay.
in the direction of the crows.
Okay. They kind of look at each other. They silence for a moment, look at each other, and then look back at you and continue squawking at you.
Coyra, can you talk with animals?
Yes, I can.
Crows are pretty
Actually,
clever. Maybe they can
yes.
tell you what happened.
I'll try it out. Do I just click it or?
Oh, you just say that you're casting it.
Okay, I'm casting Speak with Animals.
And what would you like to say to them?
I want to know what they're looking at, what's going on. If they have anything we should know. Or if they know anything we should know, sorry.
Okay. They stop squawking and just kind of stare at you, Coyra. They don't answer. They don't do anything. They kind of stare at you, and they will kind of like the thing that birds do, like when they walk along something. They kind of do that thing where they're walking along sideways, like, and they kind of huddle next to not huddle, but they just stand next to each other up on the rigging, kind of like looking down at you.
I'll look back at them and I'll just say like, I think it's best that you guys tell as my friend over there. I'm scared that he's not gonna stay friendly and just make noises only. I don't want you to get hurt.
Yeah, they kind of look at each other
Wait,
again.
I'm missing the entire context right here. Everything froze for me for a minute.
Coyra is talking to birds. Birds are not
I caught that
responding
part,
back.
but I didn't catch after that.
They didn't respond back, basically.
Yep, they didn't respond back.
So
They
I
just
just
kind of
want them, like, if you don't talk, there's a chance that Grimm over there might not just only make sounds. As I don't know you yet.
Strong chance they might become lunch.
they still don't respond, and they take off. They kind of both at the same time lurch forward from the rigging and take off and go a little bit higher in the air and are circling around the ship.
Well, good luck. This look to the others and I just say so responding. So I don't know about these guys.
Being on the water's bad. Grimm would mutter something along the lines of being on the water's bad enough without these scavengers.
Well, you had their attention for a moment.
Yep. Do I still have their attention?
Not really. They're not looking. They're looking at kind of the whole group. It's like they're surveying, keeping an eye on all of you.
I wonder if they're spies.
Yeah, since they were not.
I'd guess familiars or something along those lines. They're not natural raven. Or they're not acting like natural raven.
I don't trust these guys.
And Grimm will start heading downstairs into what I imagine is the actual tavern,
Yeah, I mean,
at least away from the view of the water.
Sure. So here, let me start opening up the map next door.
So this boat is probably made out of wood, right?
It
One
is lots and lots of
large enemy.
dead wood.
Oh boy.
Either way, Coyra,
Everybody knows how to swim, right?
either way, Coyra doesn't feel good on this boat, no matter what. Just because of those seagulls and how the ravens or crows just acted, it's like she has bad feeling.
Okay. So you go
Wait,
downstairs.
what? How am I drawing? What did I do?
Wait, what's going on?
Ignore the little dot that appeared on the
Oh.
map.
Oh.
Ignore it.
Click the arrow on your menu on the top left there.
Yep,
and then
I
you
can move again.
So yeah, then you can select that dot and delete it if you want.
Okay.
Just don't delete your character.
So you descend to the lower levels and.
I moved it on.
Oh,
Is
I
the
see.
bartender a kingu?
Maybe. So the cabin. Oh, sorry, that's the wrongs bit. So as you're descending down, this person here walks up and says, she's a human, and she says to you, well met. My name is Lorela Thundreth, but folks around here call me the Captain. If you're thirsty for a beverage or looking to gamble, you've come to the right place. But watch your step, things can get pretty messy around here. She seems like a very kind of happy-go-lucky kind of person. She seems...
That's this one?
That's this one.
Oh, okay.
And she kind of gestures for you to kind of move into... She kind of, gestures for you to move in and return.
I'm looking for a table that isn't like occupied.
Okay. She does have, somewhat strangely, she has a crab on her shoulder.
Nice.
That cut out for me.
Oh, sorry. I said, somewhat strangely, she has a crab on her shoulder.
a crab.
A crab, it kind of waves its claw towards you. Big, pinchy claw.
Cool.
So tempted to ask if he's on the menu.
Why do you want to eat everything?
Carnivore.
So let me finish reviewing.
Then Grimm skipped breakfast.
It's true.
Would you like a bean?
You have enough of them.
That
Would
finished.
you like a non-elective surgery?
So there
I
are-
already had that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I mean,
Good point.
The beans are just a gamble. If you like gambling, why not?
I do like gambling,
I'm
but not
gambling
that
enough
way.
being here with you lot.
So there are a variety of patrons sitting around. These folks over here seem to be playing cards, There seem to be a few kind of like bouncer type folks as well that you see kind of just keeping an eye on stuff here and here, right? There are stairs down here, and then there are some kind of fairly commoner looking, regular looking folks here, and here.
Okay. And is this the only game of chance going on right now?
It is, yes.
Comes in. And Palkas approaches Thorn, I think. I don't see him here. He says really quietly to Thorn. But I don't know.
Do you know what he looks like?
But I don't know what he looks like.
Grimm doesn't exactly bother to keep his voice down. You are still looking for Emmerich, right? He says it loud enough, not like really loud, but loud enough that it would carry to interested ears.
This is a dwarf sitting here, and he actually looks like a Durgar. And he says he's downstairs in his usual spot.
Oh, that's good to know. What's the
Usual
drink?
spot.
Is he playing more games of chance down there?
He says, last time I checked, Amrick doesn't get involved in the cards. He says kind of gruffly to you.
Palkas says, I do. That's where I'll be if you need me, as he says this to the other ones. And heads over to this table. And asks if they're accepting another player.
They kind of, when you sit down, you realize that these two people, first of all, they look like, first of all, you notice that they are drow, and second, they look exactly the same.
Great. May the odds ever be in my favor.
They say, do you have money?
I have enough.
Well, ante up then.
What are the stakes?
I say, it depends how much money you have.
I've got a few silver.
We could start there.
Actually, I don't know if he has any silver. No, he has absolutely no. No, he has 7 silver. So he'd say he'd pull out some gold and say, "Then let's proceed on to gold." And he'll pull out 10 gold pieces and set them in front of himself.
They kind of look at each other and say, "Now," and I say to you, "Now we're talking."
So I don't want to take up the rest of the group's time, but I would pretty much just like to try and gamble with these two.
Okay.
And go AFK for a second, check on Ditto if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah.
Alright, I'll be right back.
Right. So Malvola, looks like you're thinking about heading downstairs.
It looks like Grimm and I are heading downstairs.
Okay.
Coyra
Well,
is
Grimm is
fast-
kind of confused at the moment. I thought we were one of those. I thought we were here looking for Emmerich, and now you're gambling.
Coyra, what about you?
Coyra is fascinated by the crab, so she actually goes over and just asks some questions about the crab, how she got a crab to be like tame and stuff.
Okay.
Thorn wants something from the bar.
Okay. So Thorn, are you ordering a beverage, or are you...
I want to know what they have, including what they have under the counter.
Something against bean stomachs?
A crossbow.
The Kenku will say, in kind of what sounds like an elderly woman's voice, "The good stuff, hey?"
It's been a day. I want to take the edge off.
And then the Kenku says in kind of well, it sounds like a middle-aged man's voice. I completely understand. That's my middle-aged man voice. Did you like that?
Very convincing.
So
Sounds like me.
and brings up this bottle from under the bar, and it's kind of like this crystal, decanter, kind of very fancy looking.
Good, hit me up.
And
How much?
places, and she says, or the Kenku says, they say, 1 gold for this one.
No problem. Give me a second one. 2
Okay.
gold.
Okay. So the Kenku will start pouring and pushes the beverage to you.
Clunk.
Okay.
It's a vaguely heart-shaped bottle packaged in a purple fabric bag.
Talking about bags, how's the baby, Kashcah?
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, it's been a minute. We forgot about that.
I know, me too.
No, it's almost 15 minutes ago. I've been checking the time a bit for that.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so Thorn is enjoying a tasty beverage. Coyra, Lorelia says, but this is my companion, and she kind of like wiggles a finger at the crab, and the crab kind of pinches a finger and kind of waves it. The crab seems to be very familiar with how Lorella kind of interacts with it. She says, we've been together for a very long time.
Coyra just shows more interest. Like, she's just asking some seemingly random questions just about the crab, about her, because she just loves how people can get bonded with animals.
Okay. Yeah.
She's probably gushing a bit.
Yeah. And the railroad, yeah, the railroad kind of like is thoroughly enjoying explaining her relationship with the crab and how they met, and all this stuff, and their bond, and okay, so Malvola and Grimm are heading downstairs. So downstairs. So you'll emerge kind of. You emerge. So this is the other part of the stairs over here. And you'll emerge there, and there does seem to be kind of an additional bodyguard in the lower cabin. And it seems like it's also set out with tables and chairs, like it's an extension of the kind of main tavern area, but it seems to be a lot less kind of populated.
I'll let Malvola take the lead and act as the bodyguard.
Since looks like we're basically coming straight at this guy coming down. Greet him, kind of, hey, how's it going? I want to, present a hand as if I'm shaking hands kind of thing. Palming a gold piece in the process.
Okay. He looks at you kind of strangely and shakes your hand, and then when he comes away with the gold piece, kind of like frowns a little bit and tucks it in his pocket and goes back to leaning against, this is kind of like the lower end of the mast, right? And he's just kind of leaning against it.
I'd like to talk to Amrick if I can.
He just kind of motions like round, in this direction, kind of past the, he's kind of motioning in that way.
All right, well, I will nod my thanks and start heading off.
Sure. So you can see the rest of this area when you come around the corner, and you see there is another bar down here with a kenku and another kind of well, this person at the bar doesn't look like this guy. Looks like he's one of Lorelra's employees. This person does not. He looks like he's sitting at the bar, kind of having a drink. So you see those guys. I'm just gonna do that. Okay. It does seem to be kind of a little bit better kept down here. Like, I mean, to be honest, up here, right, doesn't smell so great. Oh, sorry.
That's like, this is the VIP room.
Mm-hmm. Like, this smells like beer and like last week's vomit, and like doesn't smell great at all. Down here, doesn't smell great, but it smells a lot cleaner, and there are kind of these couches, set up, and it's a lot nicer looking overall.
Who is this guy?
Okay, so that is at this end of the boat is the ship, is a guy sitting on the couch. He has like this black like swept hair. Is very well kind of dressed but in dark clothing, and he is he actually has a small kind of almost like fancy looking teacup sitting on the table that's in between him and the sofa. On the back of the sofa is perched this spiny kind of creature. Here, I'll show you the handout. When I can get to it, they don't have in this picture it shows them with like a trident. They don't have the trident visible, but they are very spiny looking, and they've got wings, sharp pointy teeth, the whole 9 yards.
Are they the size of a person?
Nope, they're not.
No,
They're smaller. They're like small size category.
Okay.
And he's kind of perched on the back of the sofa.
Lovely.
They say a man is defined by the company he keeps, so yeah, I'm taking an instant dislike to this.
So as this person sees you approaching, they kind of, yes, come on, and beckon you forward.
As I'm passing the barman, since it doesn't look like anyone else is, he doesn't seem busy, I will order a snake bite and then head up to the sofa here.
Okay. The Kenku kind of nods and then starts making you a drink. This gentleman kind of motions you to have a seat on the sofa, and says, new faces. He says, well, my terms are simple. He says, I do expect repayment in a 10-day. He says, and I do charge 25% interest, but I think you'll find that that's quite reasonable. Especially, if you're here, then you already know my reputation. So how much is it that you're looking for? He says, he kind of looks you both up and down. I think we should not go beyond 150.
Is that enough to hire assassins to kill your...
He says, do I know you? He says,
You will.
what are you talking about?
What I put in chat is directed toward Emmerich. I'm getting a good whiff of his scent.
Okay.
My nose may hate me later, but
Oh, damn it, what did I just do with him? Hang on. I do have a picture of him, actually, if you want to see what Mr. Amrick looks like. There you go. That's Amrick.
yep, don't like him.
That's exactly what I expected him to look like, just from his token.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Like,
Yeah, they did good work with that token.
So he says, "Look, if you're not here for business, then please move along. I have a feeling this conversation is going to become very tiresome."
I have a feeling that you find a lot of things tiresome.
He kind of, yeah, that's probably true. He's not going to disagree with you on that. He kind of sits there looking at you. Well,
I'm still waiting for my drink. I'm just sitting there kind of cross-legged, you know.
he's Amrick. You look if you look over at the bar, you'll see the Kenku is looking squarely at Amrick, like it's like they're waiting. And Amrick kind of looks at the Kenku and gives a thumbs up. And the Kenku will continue making you a drink.
No.
Thorn's going to finish his drink and get up from the bar and check in with Palkas to let him know he's heading downstairs.
Ha! One of a kind. Beat that.
I see you have everything in hand.
I don't think Palkas ever claimed to be good at gambling.
Yeah, the two drow kind of look at you, Thorn, and you can see like they're smiling, like they're without actually smiling, their whole face is smiling. You know, it's just like this kind of gloating almost.
Palkas
In
obviously.
Undercommon, I'd like to say to him in Undercommon, decent, fine by me. And then I'll head down.
Okay. All right. So the Kenku will bring over your drink, Malvola, and return to the bar.
I nod my thanks. I, as a player, am having a hard time coming up with what to say in this particular situation. So,
Well, what is it that you want to convey to him? And we can. And you don't have to like play it out word for word, right? We can.
yeah. Basically, I don't want to like. I've already kind of said something that should have put him on edge a bit. I don't want to be that blatant through the entire conversation. Verbal fencing kind of concept is what's coming to my mind.
Yeah, for sure.
The, not really saying what you're saying, but you're saying it.
And Grimm, are you going to get involved in this conversation?
I'm gonna hang back, basically feigning being a bodyguard for Malvola for now. Grimm's style is more direct. Since verbal sparring seems to be the menu choice for now. Let it play.
Okay. So Amrick, well, so Malvola, basically, you're accusing Amrick of attempting to assassinate Mortlock, right?
More or less, but I'm also trying to draw out more of the story from a different perspective.
Okay.
Because I mean, there's what Mortlock has experienced and what he conveyed to us, but that's one side of the story that there's going to be something different from any given person that we talk to that knows anything.
Okay. Yeah, Amrick will say, basically denies any knowledge of such a plot. He says, of course, Mortlock and I have our differences. He says, he's an imbecile, he says, and I try not to associate with him. He says, but he is my brother, even though he's a scar-faced hulk. He says, he's my brother. What kind of a man would assassinate his own brother?
That one right there.
I'm being watched over by a devil. Do I have any trouble getting downstairs?
I'm gonna do my own gamble at this point. Well, as he was, succumbing to his wounds, he said it was.
Oh, so you want him to believe that Morlock has died, and
that is where I'm headed.
okay. Before we get to that part, Thorn, sorry, you were wanting to. Are you?
I want to know if I could just get down. Okay, issues from this guy here.
Yeah, he's not gonna.
Okay.
He does not intercede.
I will amble up to here then.
Okay. Amrick kind of doesn't quite seem like he's fully buying into. He seems like he's unsure about what you're saying. Like he's not discounting it, but he's also not, just taking it at face value. And Thorn, when you arrive, he says, another. I take it you're not here for business either.
No, I'm with the Dragonborn.
He says, the pleasure is all mine.
Yes, it is.
So, yeah, he basically says, he says, well, if Mortlock has passed, then I'm sure our mother will be most grieved to hear this news. You are aware that my mother is Duke
I'm quite
Van
aware
Thamper.
of who your mother. I'm quite aware of who your mother is, and I'm curious as to.
Yes, your mother's the head of the Dread 3, isn't it?
Oh boy.
Just to see what Emmerich's reaction is, the comment will be to Malvola, at least the cultists involved are dead.
Amrick.
I, as a player, didn't understand what you said.
Basically, Grimm's saying to Malvola, at least the cultists are involved are dead now. But he's saying it with his eyes remaining on Emmerich to see what Emmerich's reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, Amrick maintains complete poker face. So yeah, complete poker face to that revelation, and we'll turn to you actually, Grimm, and say, "Oh, it seems you have done the city a service, ridding us of these terrible cultists that have been murdering innocents." Says,
Yes.
"Good
All
for
of
you.
them.
Good for
Every
you."
last one.
Glancing at Thorn. No, I think a couple were missed. And look back at Emmerich.
Every last one under the bath. Certainly.
Grimm makes no bones about the fact that he doesn't like Emmerich. He's not hiding the fact at all.
He says, "Under the bathhouse," he says. "Well, that is certainly Mortlock's hangout." He says, "It sounds very much like he was leading the cult." Says, "Well done. Heroes of Baldur's Gate." He says, "You have uncovered the plot of my brother who is now dead. God's rest his soul." Says, "Such a shame that these crimes won't be able to be brought against him because of his unfortunate passing."
It seems...
Sounds plausible to me.
Mr. Van Clamper, do I look like a judge?
Got that roll stone.
He kind of looks you up and down and says, "Not particularly."
Well spotted.
He says, "Do I look like I am enjoying this conversation?"
Do I look like I care? Tell me of Fendrick Grey.
He says, "I'm afraid I can't help you with that." Thank you.
Can I insight check that?
Yes.
Meanwhile, you hear roaring upstairs. Ha! 4 different colors! Ha ha ha!
4 different.
In general, more to Malvola and Thorn, maybe this one isn't important enough to be kept in the loop. Perhaps we should take the matter up with his mother.
Well,
Amrick laughs at this idea. He and Thorn, you don't quite believe him.
Yes. Yes, he's lying.
well then.
He's busy laughing at the idea. He says, "You lot talking to the Duke Van Thamper." He says, "This I have to see." He says,
Well, you're welcome to come along.
He says, "Oh, it's almost too good to pass up. But I do have business to attend to."
I would lean forward and whisper to Malvola, "We could always just burn the boat down."
The thought had occurred to me.
It's a good way to flush a rat out.
Are you saying this like you don't want Amrick to hear you, or?
At the moment, I'm making some attempt not to have Amrick hear me,
Okay.
but only some attempt.
The thing that I don't understand is that you're suggesting that Mortlock himself was in charge of the cult, and yet it was the cultists that murdered him. And that math just doesn't... Like, if he was in charge, why would they turn on him?
He says, "My dear fellow, Mortlock was not the cleverest of brothers at the best of times. He says he was probably trying to cheat them in some way, and they got wind of it. And he did consort with the lowest of the low in Baldur's Gate, and frankly was constantly bringing
Well, yeah, he's
ruin
related
to
to
our
half of
family
them.
name. He says, yes. He says, having a brother like Mortlock does tend to besmirch your family name.
So it's the money lender with the pet devil.
He says, I provide a valuable service. Says,
Usury.
It's at moments like this that I wish I was a rogue with sneak. Backstabs.
I've got sneak attack and multi attack. I go after the devil and the guy. No.
Turning to Malvola, still keeping up the pretense that he's in charge. Should we move on to other means of persuasion?
Amrick says, I would not recommend that. Once again, remind you who my family is. He says, if you so much as put a hair, and he reaches up to his head and is kind of like making sure that his hair is exactly so. If you so much as put a hair out of place, you will live to regret it.
What kind of a threat is that? Every moment is regret. You literally pop in, Jay.
Does that sound like it was meant to be a threat?
From Amrick? Or
Oh yeah.
I think it's a retorting threat to your threat.
He's threatening you and being vain at the same time.
Trying
to threaten you. Malvola, have you drunk your drink?
I have not yet.
Okay, there is.
I'm going to take the drink and pour it on Alrich's head.
Oh no! Oh, the gauntlet has been tossed.
I'm seriously like, because he's behind the sofa, so I'm like, dude, what the?
Might I interrupt for a brief moment?
Of course.
You may.
My objective, besides enjoying myself profusely by playing a card game upstairs, was to also figure out if these drow might be in the employ of Emmerich.
Oh, okay. So you just kind of through small talk, you're trying to find out if they.
Just trying to get them to talk more than anything else, because he's not good with talking, but he might be able to convince them to talk more.
Yeah. So they'll say he owes him money, and then this one says no, he owes him money. No, that was your money. You said I could, and they have like a bit of an squabble about it, and it does seem to be that one of them owes the money, although there is obvious dispute over which one.
But they don't seem to be a standard employee of his.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
They get each other and themselves confused. This is fantastic.
All right, so anything else you want to do?
That was it.
Okay, so drink poured over Amrick's head. So he immediately stands up and flicks the beverage kind of away from himself, and says, "You will live to regret this," and points over at towards the bar area and just kind of does one of these he's pointing at you guys and giving some kind of motion, and this person here is going to hastily come over and says to you, so that they are human, with red hair and a ponytail, comes over and says, I think it's time for you to leave. This person, actually here, just kind of backs up out of the way. Like, they're like, "Ooh, just backing. Like, don't want any part of this.
I don't know, threatening a bunch of IRL players that are very eager and itchy to try and get into a fight. I don't know. Sorry.
Thorn's particularly twitchy.
Back into game.
Yeah, let's stop pussyfooting around. I'm gonna
Guys doing
put
his
out my
job.
rapier and lunge at
Ooh.
Van Thamper.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. This person, by the way,
Well, that escalated quickly.
Yes, it did.
this person has they have a mace by their side, which their hand would have been on as they said, I think it's time for you to leave. Okay. So, Mr. Van Vamper, you want to roll your attack to... Oh, are you kind of... How are you moving around to get at him, I guess?
Around the edge of the sofa.
So you just kind of... Okay, got it. Alright, cool. Alright. Yeah, you want to roll your attack to...
Yes, absolutely.
Stab him?
The stabbing. You're gonna find out this guy's level 20 or something.
Wow.
Oh, he probably is something at level 20 and wipe us all out.
He
Palkas and
sneezes.
Coyra, who'll have to become the core.
That definitely hits.
Okay. That's a dreadful roll. But so be it.
Okay. Hang on. I haven't got it there.
Kind of jumped
All right.
gun there.
There we go. That's fine. All right. But yeah, we should roll initiative. You're absolutely right.
Oh boy. What did you guys get into this time? I thought I was supposed to be the lookout. Or no, I'm the distraction.
Coyra,
does this count as the first turn of combat just starting now? Or was me going for it?
your attack would have been like kind of the surprise round. I mean,
right.
Not super surprising.
There's a bit of stuff I can do in the first.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah, this wouldn't count as your first action. And then we've got this person here. It's also gonna roll. Well done, bodyguard person. And then this person here.
This is a massive battlefield.
This is gonna get messy.
Yep.
Okay. We got everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Alright. So first up is Grimm.
Good work.
Okay, bonus action. I'm gonna burn the last first level spell slot I've got. He'll pull out a small scrap of paper, mutter a prayer as he touches his holy symbol, and cast Shield of Faith on himself. Brief glow, and his armor class is 2 points higher.
Nice.
Awesome.
And since this red-haired individual looks like they're going to be involved, let's see, it's... I don't know, would I be too close for my primary weapon? It's a reach weapon, but I imagine it could still be used close quarters.
Yeah, I think it's only, you can still use it.
Nice.
Whip it good.
Alright, and that's, this person?
Yeah, the redhead
Okay.
with the mace.
All right. They take a nice slash across the face from the whip.
And that ends my turn.
Okay. Malvola.
As my movement, I will kind of flip backward over the sofa to where Thorn used to be.
Okay.
As my action, I will deploy my Pact Blade, which now is a summon out of extra-dimensional space. So it just kind of like grows into being in my hand. And I will say, it didn't have to come to this. This is not what I intended it to have happen.
Okay. Emrick's going to take the opportunity as you move out of his area to attack you. He's going to use his reaction, right, to get an attack of opportunity. Okay. So does that? No, he misses. So he lunges at you with a dagger as you kind of flip back over the sofa, but misses.
Yeah, coffee table is kind of hindering terrain.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you have your packed weapon. Are you able to use it on the same turn that you invoke it, or?
It takes my action to call it, so I don't think I get to attack with it in the same round.
Okay. Okay. Then we are on to the spiny friend.
Spiny friend. Yay.
Who takes to the air immediately. And is going to fly forward and try and bite you. Yeah, okay. So it's going to try and bite. I think, hang on, let me check. Yep, it misses Grimm. So Grimm, the spine devil tries to bite you.
It has to hit an AC 19 or better.
Yep.
Jeez.
That's not bad.
Shield of Faith adds 2 to my AC. My natural AC is 17.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Good bananas.
Okay.
I got better than AC than that.
All right, so that's that. All right, Thorn.
Okay, I'm going to cast Zephyr Strike as my bonus action, which gives me a bonus action with plus 1d8 damage if it hits.
Oh, nice.
As well as keeping me out of attack of opportunity for a minute. But the main thing is the single extra attack.
Okay.
And on top of that, because I now have Dread Ambusher, I get a bonus attack on the first round of combat. Again with plus d8. So I'm going to make 3 attacks. The first one normal, and the next 2 if they hit with a plus d8.
Okay.
That's terrifying.
It's basically the one burst I have in terms of damage. This is it. This is all I can do, but it's worth it.
But you do it well.
Hopefully. That's the natural one. That's probably a miss.
That is a miss, unfortunately.
I don't think that missed.
It's not a miss.
Plus d8 force.
Ooh,
I think that might have hit something important.
2. Okay.
I'm not sure how criticals work yet.
So see how it rolled like the 5 and the 8? So that's
That's from the critical hit.
Yeah, that's from the crit, and then you've got your 2 from the force.
Well, that's the question though, is that it doubles all dice? Does it affect the critic? The
Zephyr
It's
Strike?
weapon dice,
okay.
usually.
Okay. That hurts him a lot.
And then there's the third attack.
Okay. Oh god.
And you guys thought monks were bad.
That
That
hits
probably
him.
misses. Oh, that hits.
That
Wow.
hits him.
Okay, so same again.
Well, the guy was just relaxing in a boat.
And
Okay.
that also gets the D8, which is 8. Ooh.
See, I said you do it well.
So my dude is mostly dead. Yeah, he's struck multiple critical injuries. So yeah, he's kind of bleeding quite a bit now, and
Extra dice on a critical hit are rolled. Like sneak attack dice would also get rolled.
What?
Okay,
That's
so
insane.
That's terrifying.
So that's 2
So
more
that 2
D8s
would
then.
be doubled.
Well, he would roll another die, but
Okay.
you know.
Right, let's roll another D8 then.
Yep.
The only one I have to hand is the Zephyr Strike spell thing. Ooh, God, 7 again.
Okay.
So instead of well done, he is
So on the
29.
We're now all wanted
7.
fugitives.
stake scale, he's
Vallen, we're
he's
lucky we're not involved with this yet.
Yeah, I'm just playing a poker game.
Okay. Yeah, he's very wounded at this point. Okay. Anything else you would like to do, Thorn?
Just yell wildly so that Coyra and Palkas know that shit's going down.
Okay. Coyra, could you make a perception check, please?
Sure. I was gonna... Wait, where is it? There it is.
You think you hear your friends, like, you know, kind of getting into some trouble.
Thorn's really
Downstairs.
yelling loudly.
My question is, does Coyra really hear it good or not? Because she's still talking to this person.
You don't-
Like, is it faintly or...
I mean, you don't hear it super well, but it sounds like it went from, you know, kind of like normal, like, you know, murmurings in the bar and like laughter and whatnot. You did hear probably a large piece of furniture turn over, and you've heard some kind of like excited movement, perhaps, and then you heard Thorn yell.
Die!
he yelled, "Turn the baby."
Oh, yeah.
He probably yelled,
Coyra looks over to Palkas and says, I think there's trouble. I'll go and take a look. Excuses to the nice person she's been talking to and says, I feel like my friends.
She says, I don't mind a fight, but they do need to pay for any damages they cause.
No, I hope they'll pay.
It will absolutely be our pleasure.
1, 2, how many tiles could I move?
Funeral expenses optional.
12.
I'll just go 1, 2, 3. So Coyra walks downstairs and she sees that, yep, indeed, there's trouble. She gives a little shout to Palkas, like, calm down. And she walks a little bit further in.
Okay.
See, can I do anything? I can't. That's the end of my turn.
Okie doke. Alright, then Amrick is going to retort. So he has these kind of, he has a selection of daggers on his personage, and you see him kind of like, he's already got one in his hand that he tried to stab at Malvola with, and he quickly grabs another one, and then Thorny's just like trying to stab you with these daggers, basically.
Right, too.
So first one misses, second one misses. Oh, come on. Wow. Nope, those all miss.
He's too bloodied.
He is maybe a little staggered from all the all the damage he just took.
He's a little lightheaded from all the blood loss.
Right. Yeah. So that's his
The
turn.
sudden and rapid blood loss.
Palkas.
Palkas, obviously Coyra would have said that loud enough that Palkas could hear it. I was curious about the response of any of the bouncers.
They don't seem to be
Okay.
bothered.
Palkas pushes the rest of his chips in that he had and says, "Thank you for the game, but I must go." And he just puts the cards down and says, "Blackjack, ha ha," and walks away. They were playing poker. So he proceeds to move downstairs to see what's going on.
Okay.
Comes out the other side, I'd imagine.
All right.
Sees this guy. Is this guy giving him the evil eye or caring or anything?
No, he just kind of like looks you up and down, but doesn't seem to be kind of, particularly bothered.
Continues walking around over here, and I think that's probably all he'd be able to walk without double moving, and looks to see what's going on.
Okay. Yeah, you see your friends look like they're in a fight.
Is anybody moving to assist them, or is it just Amrick that they're currently engaged with and his spine devil friend?
You do see one other person. This guy here, red hair, ponytail, seems to be fighting with Grimm.
Okay.
The other guys seem to be like this guy here and this guy here look like they're kind of, well, you might have a little trouble seeing them from there. But Coyra would be able to see. They look like they've got their hands kind of on their weapons at the ready,
Okay.
but like they're not getting involved right now.
Okay. So then Palkas would move up next to Coyra.
Okay.
Excuse me. Actually, probably, yeah, he'd use the rest of his time to move up instead of taking an action. He'd take the dash action, I guess it is, because
Yeah.
and he'd move up next to Coyra and call to the let's see if I can click it, to these two and say, "No need for that. You can leave your weapons where they are." And he'll just kind of hold his maul while he's saying it, just a little bit threateningly, maybe try an intimidation to keep them out of the battle. Or at least draw their attention away from it.
You want to make an intimidation check?
Why, yes,
please?
yes I do. Being a half-orc, I have that as a trained skill.
This is good news.
It's okay.
They say, this guy at the back says, "I won't get involved unless I have to."
Okay. That's all I got, because I used my action
Okay.
to dash.
This guy is going to use the mace he was holding onto, and swing it at Grimm. So 15 does not hit. And I think, oh no,
Swing and a miss.
he does get 2 attacks. 14 also does not hit. All right, so that guy is sucking it up. Grimm.
Okay, since both of these two seem intent on attacking me, the first one will be against the redhead for my main action.
Okay, that hits.
Whip, nice.
And then the second one will be against the little devil.
That also hits.
Good work.
Just kind of keeping both of them occupied with snaps of the whip.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they're both hurting from, well, this guy a little more so, but they both suffered from that whip.
And that's it for me.
Okay, doke. Malvola.
I will step 1 square down and then attack with the flail against this.
Okay. Sounds good. That hits.
Ooh, nice.
Ouch.
Ouch.
Takes a massive blow
Jeez.
and kind of staggers him a little bit, but he is still standing.
That was max damage on that normal hit. That was
Owie.
good.
Owie. Ow, ow, ow.
As a
Oh, go on. Sorry. Alright.
As a bonus action, I will cast Wrathful Smite, but the way this reads, it looks like it's after this action I can do, it's my next attack.
Mm.
As this is the thing I've been trying to figure out because it seems weird to me.
Wrathful Smite.
Yeah.
Well, you
Okay.
can bonus before a main action.
Yeah. you can-
I didn't declare it, so that's, I mean,
Mm.
if you want to allow that, I would like to.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. What this does, the next time you hit with a melee attack during the duration, the attack deals an extra d6 psychic damage. Additionally, if the target is a creature, it must make a saving throw or be frightened until the spell.
Okay.
Goes well with the spell mace.
Alright, yeah, for sure. Alright, you want to roll the extra damage then? And. Okay, so he takes another 3. And then now he's frightened, right?
He has to make a wisdom save against a DC 14.
Ah, okay. Alright, let's do that. He rolled a 5.
So he's actually afraid of Malvola.
Mm-hmm.
Of Malvola, yeah.
And they can, as an action in future rounds, make a wisdom check to steal their resolve. But they need to re-roll
Okay.
for an action.
Alright. We'll see
Your
how that
dice are rolling horribly, Kashcah.
Shut it. This means next session, 3 of us are dying.
You know, I think. All right. Well, let's see
He's
how
not
I
wrong,
do
folks.
with the spine devil.
As
'Cause
long as the baby stays alive.
Those that don't know what
Baby's
the
still
baby
good.
thing is, we've
Um,
got something we're rotating.
so spine devil is going to lash out at Grimm with a couple of hits from. You see, its tail starts swishing around behind it, and then whoosh, tries to hit you with the tail.
I think we figured out what took out the seagulls.
Bugs.
Hello? Did that roll? Oh, it did.
Zombugs.
Okay, that's an 18. Does that hit you or no?
Nope.
God damn it.
He's at 19 right now.
Alright, and second, another fucking 18. Jesus. Sorry. No, both tail swats miss you. Malvola, you see like Grimm is like dodging like nobody's business right now. It's kind of weird.
Yeah,
Yeah, wow. Most impressive.
he is remarkably bendy.
He's gone all Matrix on you.
Yeah.
He's just like... Alright, Thorn, then over to you.
Okay. This turn it is just an attack.
That will hit. Okay. He is still standing. But looks like he's quite well done at this point.
Did you use your cooking attack? Sorry. You said he's quite well done. What do you want? Frying pan. Oh, no. Don't. There's a pug over here. You're going to miss.
He used the flame broiling option on his weapon.
Yeah, from Create.
Created a monster.
Do you have any bonus actions, Thorn? Or-
No, that's it.
Okay.
After my one explosive surge, being a normal schmo again.
Coyra.
Coyra moves up past this person
Mm-hmm.
and takes out her scimitar, and knowing that she's surrounded by wood, she has little faith in hitting the person, but still gives it a try.
Okay. That hits. Oh god.
She actually misses the wood and hits the person.
And this
Oh,
guy.
gee.
Well, that was if because the second roll was a
Well,
crit.
that's still a max roll.
Yeah,
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 good.
for sure. And he crumples to the ground
Well done.
and is
And
dead.
Coyra just says, "Don't mess with my friends."
Oh,
Okay.
I mean, it's in her bio.
Anything else you would like to do? Or
Nope.
okay.
I just realized what Coyra's potential reaction might be when she learns what Grimm is.
Interesting.
Nobody knows yet.
I know, but I think when she finds out, it's gonna be hilarious. Puppy!
I mean, so far
Not
he has
puppy.
been talking about eating anything he sees. Coyra is a bit sketchy about it.
Oh god.
Alright. So Amrick kind of like just drops the daggers, right, and just says, "Fine, fine." He says, and he's got his hands up like this now. He's dropped the daggers on the floor. Clearly, I am outmatched. And he is literally like kind of surrendering, giving like every motion, and
okay.
he says, "Clearly I am outmatched. What is it that you want? I will answer any of your questions."
That's actually all we want, really.
Palkas
I
would
mean,
like to
we
move
don't
up
really
at
care
this
that
if,
you tried to kill your brother.
considering he's surrendering and
He's
try
an
and
idiot.
save this guy.
Save what? This guy?
Yeah, keep him from dying, just stabilize him.
Yeah, I'm not.
If that's a thing.
No.
No, guy's done. Okay. If
That's
he's
what I'm
obvi-
trying to do.
if he looks obviously dead, he wouldn't have moved up front. So
I mean, he's.
Okay, wait. Obviously dead in what way?
if his head is missing or an arm,
I mean, his head's not missing, right? But he did. You saw him take a big slash from
okay,
Coyra's scimitar and crumples to the ground.
he'd move up in an effort to try and save him upon seeing that. Okay, yeah, he's
There's a giant pool of blood.
Yeah.
Are we trying to?
His
Or
eyes have
is,
rolled back
I take
his
it
head.
initiative is suspended at this point.
Well, that depends.
Are you gonna continue?
Amrick has kind of like surrendered, and the spine devil will kind of sneer, and hiss at you. But well, what do you guys want to do? Are you going to continue to dispense, attacks, or?
I mean, Palkas is next, so it's Palkas' call.
Well, he was more than willing to until he saw the guy surrender, and then he was like, "All right, maybe I can save this bleeding
Okay.
pool of death." No, never mind.
Oh.
Okay.
Well,
Everything was
I'm happy to
done
hold
for
off
me.
at the moment.
Whatever was said in the past few seconds, I missed it. Are we pausing
Yeah.
initiative? In that case, Grimm will actually bend down and whisper a brief prayer, a cantrip style prayer, and hit the redheaded guy with Spare the Dying, which will immediately bring him back to 0 hit points.
Okay.
I will right the sofa and then sit back down.
Yeah. So I think the most important question to settle is whether your family knew that what's the city called? It's not El Dorado, or it's El something.
Okay.
El Camino.
El Camino, yeah. Whatever it is, that place, whether they knew that that was going to sort of stole them into the hells, or whether they arranged it. That's the first question.
Amrick says, my mother does not give me that much power. He says, this is her gambit.
So, do you think it's plausible that she has the power to drag the city down?
He says, not her personally, no.
Does she associate with those who would?
She has many powerful friends. He says, I wasn't kidding when I told you that our family is powerful.
No, we understand that. We just appeared we didn't say, that's all. Okay, tell me about Fendrick Grey and Philaster Fisk.
He says, Fendrick Grey he works for my mother. He says, he is part of our household staff. He says, I don't know where you came by his name.
It's on an interesting list. What about Mr. Fisk?
Hang on one second. He says the same for Mr. Fisk.
So
He says they're both employed by my mother.
So they're hired.
What do they do in their employ?
He says, Fendrick Fisk used to be employed by my mother. He's kind of like looking very like with a great amount of fear at all of you kind of and surrounding, weapons and everything, and says, Fendrick Grey is as far as I know, he's just a butler. He says maybe my mother has some additional job that he does that I don't know about. He says, Blaster Fisk, he says, she has him imprisoned at the moment, as far as I know. But again, this is her business, her dealings.
Okay. So the head of the Flaming Fist is dead, dragged into hell, and your brother is gone. We've wiped out the cult. What next? I mean, honestly, I don't care who rules Baldur's. Your mother's ambition for the city doesn't bother me. The wholesale murder of the entire town, that bothers me.
Are the two guards by the stairs that Palkas is next to actually looking to intervene, or they just left it at this point?
No, they still have their hands on their weapons, but they look more like they're interested in self-defense than anything else.
Palkas is just watching them. Sorry.
While this is going on, Coyra asks this person who has to clean up this mess, as she feels bad about the mess.
The Kenku kind of looks at you, and with the voice of a small child says, I'll clean up the mess if I have to.
If you want as a little apology, you can have 2 gold.
He's not dead, but he should be taken to a healer.
Okay.
Do they accept the gold? Or?
Yeah, they will accept the gold.
Good.
pocketing little pocket.
Almost have my way to an even number without decimals again.
Okay.
So yes, I'm still hoping it's going to give me some sort of answer. What further phases of this chaos are involving?
Well,
Oh, go.
the thing I'm trying to understand is, you say that these gentlemen are in your mother's employ, and then she's got one of them in prison for something, and the other is a household. But the guy that she has in prison, that's not employment, you know? Like, what was his job?
He says, as far as I know, he's a scholar. He says, it's something to do with Candlekeep. I don't know.
Okay, then. That is
Okay, that's
an answer
useful.
to the question.
Sounds as if we all need to have a discussion with this one's mother.
Well, yes. I mean, he's still being very evasive about telling me what's supposed to happen next.
He says, look, I know my mother is maneuvering and manipulating everybody to position herself as Grand Duke. He says, that's obvious to anybody who's aware of, like, the recent events. He says, but as far as her plans with Baldur's Gate itself, he says, it's possible that she has some agreement that involves Baldur's Gate also meeting the same fate as Elturel. He says, this is all I know.
So what was the point of the cult? Why have insane cultists dragging people off the street, torturing them and killing them? What was the goal?
He says the cultists were just supposed to undermine the Flaming Fist. He says, the Flaming Fist right now is an obstacle for my mother.
If people have no faith in the Flaming Fist, then the Flaming Fist gets ousted from the city, and then some other security force gets brought in, or it lessens Raven, what's his name's, claim to his position, and then she can more easily unseat him.
Especially if he happens to be missing.
Yeah. I mean, we assume he's dead. He's in hell.
Well, those two things are not one and the same.
No.
The question remains, what are we going to do with this one?
I have a distinct aversion to cold-blooded murdering someone who has surrendered. And I don't know the laws of this city, but I really doubt that we would be able to really do anything to him.
He says, I can be useful to you, seeing that you're questioning whether to leave him alive or not. He says, you want to talk to my mother?
That would be very helpful if you could arrange that.
He says, well, the Van Thamper estate, he says, is in the upper city. He says, I can get you past the gates.
I'm sure
Before
you
we
could.
do that, Grimm walks over to him. Your cloak. Give it here.
I'm gonna pee on it.
He licks it.
He gives you, he kind of confusedly takes the cloak off and then he takes the brooch off, and hands it to you. Keeps the brooch for himself.
Grimm will then start cutting the cape into strips to bandage this guy's wounds so he doesn't bleed out on the way.
My cape!
Would you rather bleed to death on your way to your estate? I don't have the magic to heal you right now, so this is going to have to do.
What do you know of the Book of Fragments?
He looks thoroughly perplexed at that name. He says, I know nothing. This book sounds like another Candlekeep thing to me. They're the masters of the
so
books.
People keep saying. Well, yes, okay. If you can get us into the familial estates, then.
He says, well, I can get you into the upper city at least. He says, after that, he says, we'll see what we can do.
If you're seriously suggesting that you can't get us into your own family's estate, I seriously have to question why we're bothering with you at all.
He says, well, in that case, of course I can.
Okay. It's been a pleasure doing business with you. I like your dagger technique. Very neat, very sparse.
He kind of drops his head, thoroughly defeated.
So how festooned with daggers is he?
It's like a bulletproof vest.
I don't know. He doesn't have any more visible. But there are...
Well, Grimm does make a point of pulling any daggers he finds off of him as he's bandaging the wounds with his own cloak.
Okay. Yeah, you'd find 2 more on him.
Leave those on the coffee table.
Okay. And there's 3 on the floor.
I'm intending to, once he's served his purpose, I'll give them back, but I don't want him armed while he's, in our...
Yeah.
While he's in...
Okay. Alright, so you're going to kind of escort him from... What's the plan, I guess?
Yeah, he's going to escort us into the upper.
But first we'll turn the baby.
Thank you.
He got attacked while he was at the Lone Lantern Tavern, and we're trying to escort him home.
Okay. Alright. So...
And I rolled a crappy deception check on that.
That was pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I suppose.
Alright. So you he comes along fairly willingly out of the boat, and the patrons all kind of move aside as you're exiting the boat. Actually, we can get rid of this now. Clear that, and you kind of moving up out of the way, and they all move out of the way. They all move aside and kind of make way as Amrick accompanies you up to the deck of the boat. Are you like tying his hands or anything, or are you leaving him kind of as is?
I think we should have him more or less surrounded, but not necessarily have him like handcuffed or anything.
Okay.
One thing I do want to do, like as I walk, like as the group files past, the captain.
Yeah.
Sorry about the mess downstairs, and hand a gold piece to the crab.
Crab will take it with its pinchers from you. It looks like it's done this before.
And then, we continue on.
Okay.
The man downstairs is only unconscious. If possible, get him to a healer.
The Lorela, the captain, kind of looks at you and nods and kind of rolls her eyes a little bit, like another fight, you know. And kind of she starts heading downstairs to go take a look.
At least we didn't leave any dead bodies for her to dispose of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
While we
Although,
pass her,
if they have like a porthole, it's just
Oh, go on,
while we pass her, Coyra waves at the little crab.
It will wave back with its little claw.
with the gold piece in its teeth.
Yeah, it might. It's got a gold piece in it, waves. Okay. So you're coming up back on deck, and as you're exiting kind of up here, right? Probably once most of you are on deck, you see hurrying towards you a cloaked figure. They approach, climbing the steps to the deck of the ship fairly rapidly, and you can hear armor clanking with every step. And you can see that one gloved hand rests on the hilt of a long sword, and as they approach, the other hand reaches up and pulls back the cloak's hood to reveal the face of a teenager with brown skin and red hair and a haunting gaze. She is a female human, and she looks like she is pointedly coming towards you specifically as a group instead of just being there. She looks like she was looking for you.
Okay. Do we need to form up on the deck?
Well, I think this is where we'll leave it, actually, if that's okay.
Yeah. Okay, great.
All right. Well, thanks again, everybody, for coming out for another episode of 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. Descent into Avernus as we slowly seek our ways into the depths of hell. With as much fun as we can do. So we'll see you guys next time. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for coming.